I didn't intend to be an inventor. This was kind of a fluke, I tell everybody. It really was born out of frustration. Any golfers in the room? Okay, so you know what I'm talking about. It's a maddening sport. It's a wonderful sport, and some years ago I took it up kind of late in life. But during trying to perfect the unperfectible, I came up with this concept, this product. And in the beginning, it wasn't designed to go to market. It was for my own benefit, through my own use. I was going to improve. It was until a few months later that a friend of mine who actually grew up with a tour pro, Phil Mickelson, encouraged me to do something with the product. So at that point, I started investigating, well, maybe I should get it patented or at least try. So went through that process of trying to find out, was there anything like it on the market? Was I going to infringe on anybody else's patent? Was it a patentable product, etc. After doing some research on my own, I couldn't find anything, but at a certain point, you have to know your limitations. So the first thing I would encourage anybody to do that's trying to get a patent on a product is seek out legal representation. Hire a patent attorney that knows what they're doing, because they can save you a lot of time and a lot of wasted effort and money. So I would strongly encourage you to seek the help of a patent attorney to help in the process. Whether you plan on doing anything right now, whether it's going to be a year or two down the road, 5 years down the road, it's worth it to protect your idea. Because a lot of people probably thought about the same product that I invented. I just happened to be the first guy to get it patented and to market. So, don't think that you're the only one that's thought of this. Somebody will be out there coming up with it. I've had 2 or 3 ideas in the past, and a few years down the road, I see it, in stores or on TV. So, take the steps to protect your proprietary ideas and information, and at least get the patent. But that's one small phase of taking a product to market. And Marjie has taken a couple, 2 or 3 probably now to market, so she's probably much more versed at some of the pitfalls and things to look out for that'll assist you and help you get on your way. But it's a wonderful experience. I mean, there's a lot of pride, there's a lot of excitement that goes into creating your own product, having a product that's patented, but that's just the first step. There's a lot of work involved. Most great ideas die in the patent office because either you weren't prepared, you didn't have a good business plan, you couldn't find an investor, you didn't know what steps to take to try and promote your product. So that's where getting a good patent attorney is going to help you through some of those situations and help you get prepared. There's a large network out there.
There's also, say, the 2 types of patents, because people think you only need 1 patent.
Well, there's utility patents, and I mean, I'll let Roger and those that are more.
But sometimes you think you need just 1 patent, and there's a design patent and a utility patent. So, there's 2, and the lawyers can help you with all of that. But sometimes you think, oh, I just need a patent, and there's,
Yeah,
there's more to even just the patent. That's why you definitely need a lawyer.
we're not attorneys. We just play one on TV. But no, it's been an amazing journey. I started this process 5 years ago. What I came to realize is I thought going into this I was a little bit naive, thinking you know, I'll fund this off of the sales that this product generates. And that works to a point. But if you plan on going big, you're not going to build your product in your garage. You're not going to make them one by one. You're going to have to seek outside help, manufacturing, and it's an expensive endeavor. You know, I didn't have $500,000 laying around when I came up with this idea to do this the right way. So over the last 4 years, just kind of regrouped, met a wonderful angel investor. So it really depends on what your goal is, what you want to accomplish. Do you want to take the product to market yourself? Do you want to just sell the rights to it and sit back and collect your royalty checks, or, you know, do what Margie and I have done, which is, I mean, we're taking it from A to Z. All the marketing, we've been directly involved in all the production, manufacturing. What we're going to show you here is an infomercial, a 28.5-minute infomercial that we're getting ready to launch around mid-January. So it's the big crescendo. We've been working diligently, and it is a lot of work. Just because you had a great idea, just because you got a patent, it doesn't stop there. A lot of sleepless nights, a lot of long nights and shorter days, but all in all, it's been a wonderful adventure, a great experience for me. Like I said, Margie's done this a couple times, so I was fortunate to have her by my side through all this and help put some of the pieces of the puzzle together. So.
Can I say something real quick here?
Absolutely.
With this product, I'm going to say, as Keith said, we're going from A to Z. I've talked to people with product, and like with your medical product, I'm just throwing this out, is that with even little products I've looked at going from market to A to Z, I got stumped on like shelf, in the respect of shelf space, that a company, as far as when you get to market, you're in a situation where retail stores only want one vendor in that shelf space. So when you have a product, one of my biggest, not only do you want the patent attorney, but you want to go find out who your market is and who the buyer is, and make sure that you can get from A to Z before you put all that money out there, step by step at a time, and not realizing you're going to come and hit some stumbling blocks. So I just wanted to throw that out. Because sometimes it is worth, as Keith just said, taking the idea, letting it be sold to a larger company, and letting them take it to market and enjoy your royalties. So just a thought.
Yeah, it really comes down to how involved do you really want to be. You know, this is what drives me. I've been in sales my whole life. So this is very appealing to me. But I've got a lot of friends that are either engineers, software developers that have great products, great ideas, but they don't know the first thing about selling it. So know your limitations. Don't be bashful about drawing a line where you know your capabilities lie and don't lie, and seek the help you need to get your product to the point you want it to be. Like I said, whether that's selling it yourself, going direct, or selling it to a company and enjoying the ride. So.
Do you want to talk about where we are, that this isn't the finished?
Yeah. We're going to show you a video. This is part of the infomercial, and of course this was the first time I've ever been involved in producing any kind of video or made for television type of video. So it's been a great learning experience, but we'll show that to you here in a minute. Before we do that, anyone have any questions? Yes.
This might be to Marjorie. Margie, you mentioned licensing, but from what I read, the odds are really low. I mean, you spend more time trying to find somebody to do it, and only like 0.001% of products.
Licensing, what do you, I'm sorry.
You mentioned that instead of producing the product,
Oh,
go
yeah.
out and license it for royalties, but has that really happened? I mean, did you license any of yours?
No.
Okay.
I'm just saying, what the point of that more than anything was, make sure you have your buyer so you know who your buyer is.
And what the distribution channels and all that kind of stuff.
So that you can get to them is my point. Because what stopped me was situations of shelf space or, does that make sense?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
But there are times where certain products you can license it to a company and,
Yes.
What, my understanding is you produced this yourself, or you funded the video or the
Well-
commercial, right? Or did you have a company who
Well-
was doing this for you?
Yes and yes.
Okay.
We originally started out having the infomercial produced. And without going into a lot of detail, it didn't work out. $100,000 later, but.
which wasn't the full budget for it.
Right.
Right.
But we had to switch gears in midstream. Fortunately, the gentleman that shot all the footage is a world-renowned cinema photographer. He does documentary work and has traveled the country, so he's very familiar with the editing process. We also had to hire an animation company that does all the graphics. You won't see too much of it in this video because this is the rough edit. Right now it's in the process. We just had our voiceover actor in the studio on Friday, did all the voiceover, so now the animation guy is putting all that in place as well. So,
Music isn't even the correct music.
right. The music, everything's gonna be changed, but you'll get a good feel for the way this was produced. I made a decision early on that I didn't want to be another infomercial. What's the guy's name? Billy Mays. The in your face, gotta buy it now, over the top. Appealing more to the population that, look, you're not gonna pull any wool over somebody's eyes. You're not gonna force anybody to buy a product they don't. So let's just keep it real. I think most golfers are relatively intelligent people, and I didn't want to insult somebody's intelligence by making claims and going over the top with a product in the manner that a lot of these other companies have done. I'm not Ronco, I'm not, the Vegematic or the Ginsu knife or any of that. This isn't going to cut through a pile of wood or anything like that. So all I can do is take what this product did for me personally, which for those of you that golf and those that don't, I was about a 20 handicap. I shot bogey golf. Tried everything I could think of, bought every product on the market to try and get my score down. Took lessons, the whole 9 yards, nothing worked. Until I started developing this, I was working with it in my living room through the development stage, and it was about this time of year, so probably a good 3-4 months, we couldn't play golf here. And that following spring, I went out and shot 2 over, which going from 20 to 2 is unheard of. So that's when I knew this product was the real deal, and I knew if I could get people to at least try it, they'd be convinced as well. So about 4 years ago, like Roger said, I was building them in my garage, one by one. Sold about 400 of them, just did kind of a grassroots, custom built every one. But I knew at that point, there was no way if this thing went nationwide or worldwide, Keith wasn't gonna be building them in his garage. So, like I said, we kind of took a step back, regrouped, found the right investor, and that was probably back in March, April. So in a relatively short amount of time, we're about 30 days away from going live and finally getting the product out in the marketplace. So.
And and it's a quick turnaround time. I mean, we're pushing. Because there's a lot of parts and pieces, especially when you're going to air an infomercial, you have your telemarketing company, you have fulfillment. I mean, there's just so many parts and pieces that you have to pull together. And then also on this as well, like when you're watching this, you have to realize the rough cut has none of the voiceover, as we said. So in the beginning, there'll be voiceover and, you know, and then the call to action, and you're not seeing any of that on this rough cut. With saying that, there are also upsell products. So once they call the telemarketing house, not only are we selling our product, but for profit purposes, you want upsell products, and they always say you want at least 2. So we also have to get those produced and sent to the fulfillment house as well. So this is just a part of the process and what you're seeing with the infomercial.
So back to your question about the editing process, Margie and I had the opportunity, which we thought we were going to have from the beginning. Part of the problem is we had a production company that was out of state on the East Coast. So it made it very difficult in the collaboration process for us to be involved in that. Luckily, the photographer that shot all the footage is here in Denver, so we were able to meet daily. And we built this to be exactly what it is now, which is what I envisioned it being. So, you know, there was a silver lining to it all. It was a lesson, but the whole process has been a lesson, quite honestly. So, but I wouldn't change anything. I wouldn't go back, other than maybe the $100,000 we spent on the first go-round, but it's been good. Yes, sir.
How are you projecting your market and the production and inventory to go along with that for your initial launch, and how do you gauge that?
That's a very good question, and when you come up with the answer, I'd like to know it.
Now,
Now,
randomly guessing, or you
well,
Sky.
it's, you know, it's a crapshoot. It's a gamble. You don't really know with a new product how it's going to be received. All I can base it off of is the 400 that I sold locally a few years back. Not one of them came back. No one asked for a refund or their money back. So I kind of have a little bit of an edge going into it, but at the end of the day, you really don't know. There's not another product like it. There's nothing to compare it to. There's been training aids out there. I mean, the Medicus is probably one of the most well-known ones. They grossed $200 million in their first 3 years out. So, you know, it's having your ducks in a row and being prepared if it goes crazy. So we're starting with 1,000 units for the initial test. That'll run for about a week on all the major network and cable stations. After that week, we'll kind of pull it, analyze the data, and then go back out again with any adjustments that we had to make.
And another thing in saying that about, I just want to throw this in as far as media, from trying it in the past and then this time and getting consultation as well, you have to be really cautious about what they try to sell you for media, and we are pushing back with what we're being presented in the respect that we don't, right now, want to buy time. We don't feel golfers are awake from 1 to 5 in the morning, you know, for the infomercial. So we're like, we don't want to buy that time because half of the time we would have bought is in that area for infomercials because it's long form. And so I'm just saying that really analyze your media buy.
There's a lot of companies out there that are just dying to help you get your product to market. I call it praying because they'll take advantage of you if you don't know what you're doing. So, you know, ask a lot of questions and always remember you're the client. And if they want your business bad enough, you know, they'll give you the information you're asking for. But question everything. That's my biggest advice.
We interviewed a lot of media companies and found that there were some that were better with infomercials, so long form, and also golf products. Because there were a lot that were a lot higher, telling us we needed to go out with a lot more money for the test. And so just throwing that out, that's an area to be careful.
I mean, just like Margie had mentioned, you know, they were putting our media buys at all hours of the day, morning, nights. But like Margie alluded to, you know, not many golfers are up, you know, it's an expensive sport, number one. So you have to assume that they've got a job. You know, they're probably not all working the graveyard shifts and then coming home and watching TV at 3 and 4 in the morning, but on average, the market we're catering to, you know, it's probably your 9 to 5 guy and gal. So
And they push back at you like, oh, you know, there'd be a dad up, you know, feeding the baby. And I said, you know what, he doesn't have time to golf right now, so that's not our plan. But I'm telling you that they push back at you with why, and, you know, just, but sometimes you have to say, you know, we don't want to test that area.
So just remember, you're in control of that process, and they'll try to suck you into the rabbit hole, but just remember, at the end of the day, you know, it's your product, it's your company, it's your funding, and you should remain as in control and be as informed as possible, just to protect yourself.
You might talk about when you set up with the angel investor and what you went through and what people can expect in that process.
Well, and I think it's different for each investor. You know, our investor, you know, you watch Shark Tank, right? You see these guys, and they're sharks. I mean, their whole objective is to make as much money off of your product as possible, and usually pay you as little as possible. That's how these guys have made their millions. So you're going to have to evaluate what your product's worth to you based on what you're putting into it. Yeah, you may hold the patent, you may be the inventor, but my adage is 50% of something is better than 100% of nothing. So you'll probably run into many different scenarios as far as what an investor is going to expect for his investment, what you're putting into the equation. So there's some interesting dynamics that are going to dictate that. We were very fortunate. Our investor was looking for 25% of the gross profit.
For how much?
Pardon me?
For how much investment?
$750,000. So all in all, that's a pretty fair deal. I've been approached by other investors that wanted 50 and 60%. Didn't feel right, didn't seem right, so I didn't do it. But this was a good opportunity to get the product, a dream of mine to get it out there, and fortunately I've got Margie's experience and help, and she's been super instrumental because she's been through this with a couple other products. So very fortunate that way. Anyway, yes.
How did you find your investor?
Um,
Take a route or something?
friend of a friend of a friend.
Okay. Can I be your friend?
Hey, if this thing takes off, you know, I mean, the attraction of the monetary part of this is great. You know, like I said, in the beginning, when I invented this wasn't about the money. This was about me trying to improve, and once I saw what it did for my game, I came to the conclusion, wow, you know, how many other people could benefit from this? So if it's a medical product that's going to save lives, or a bicycle carrier that's going to make somebody's back not hurt as bad, trying to get it on and off. Whatever the product is, if you take the focus off of the money aspect and do it because it's something you're passionate about, something you believe in, that should be what drives you. I mean, I'm not naive enough to think we're not doing this for the same reasons. We all want to enjoy a little better life, but do it for the right reasons. I'm convinced if you follow your heart, your passion, your dream, the right opportunities are going to come along. If you're doing this for the right reasons, it's amazing, the people that come out of the woodwork. So that would be my biggest advice, is do it because you love doing it. Do it because you believe in what you're doing. Because you don't know where it's going to go. So at the end of the day, the least you could hope for is the satisfaction that you invented something worthwhile, that may help other people. Yes?
With your angel investor, did you have to have so many cells, or did he just see the potential?
I'm sorry, repeat that,
Do
please?
you have to have so many cells, or did he see the potential?
Um,
The potential.
He saw the potential. He happens to be a golfer too, so that was a plus.
I guess before we show him the video, you should explain who Jim McLean is.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so,
There was another question.
oh, I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, I kind of walked away, but, did you go through a patent or a attorney or you know,
That attorney's
You know-
sitting right in front of you.
This gentleman right here in front of you.
I didn't know, okay.
No, and I was telling people in the beginning, whether you think you're gonna take this product to market tomorrow or 10 years from now, get the advice and guidance of a patent attorney. Protect your idea, because somebody else will come up with your idea eventually. And if you've got first spot on it, it protects you. So, yeah, I would highly recommend.
And feel really good about your patent attorney, because you'll get to know him really well.
Yeah, I mean, along those lines, would you have any recommendations, like where I could put a good word?
There's a place down the street. No, we've got Roger Jackson here, and I'm sorry, sir, what was your name? So we've got 2 patent attorneys in the room here. So,
And feel really comfortable with your patent attorney, because I've had a patent attorney in the past that, then I met Roger and I'm thrilled, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
I talked to a few of us on the phone, it didn't sound.
yeah. Well, don't give up just because somebody doesn't think it's a good idea or doesn't think it's patentable. Keep pushing. I started out, the gentleman I used initially, I don't think did as good of a job as what Roger has done for us. So, keep persevering till you get the answer you want.
Does everyone have time? This is a half-an-hour infomercial. Do you want us to play the whole thing, or do you?
Why don't we take a little break first?
Okay.
Okay.
The restrooms are back through there to your left. And consume whatever food and drink there is. Like 5 or 10 minutes. Oh, here.
somebody of notoriety or credibility was very important to the success of this product. In the golf world, there are probably a handful of very well-known instructors, people that have taught Tiger Woods and, you know, all the tour pros. So one of the gentlemen that I wanted to pursue and get this product in front of is a gentleman by the name of Jim McLean, whose teaching style, it's almost like this product was made for him. Because of the way he teaches, because of his philosophy about how to instruct on golf, how the golf swing works, this product was extremely complementary to his teaching. So, as luck would have it, we went down and met with him, and 10 minutes into it, he said, "Keith, I love it. I'm in." So that was music to my ears. So keep in mind, this is the rough edit. There's still going to be some more work to be, it's actually being done as we speak, but this will give you a good idea of what the product is and the kind of reviews from just the average user that has tried the product.
swing putt is whether you go the other way. And a lot of people tend to go flat, steep. That is a big time death move in golf. You start down with that shaft going inside the plane line on the downswing, it's all over. You're coming from the outside, you're going to hit the toe of the club 99% of the time, and you're going to chicken wing it going through. So this is such an important part to learn your golf swing. And with the swing wizard, you can practice this shooting this in a really nice climate. I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona, in Sunridge Canyon. I've got a golf school here. Great place. But a lot of you are up north in the northern climates. And during the winter, you're going to have a lot of indoor time. This is a great time to use the Swing Wizard. You can use it for so many things that are productive. You can use it like when you're up against the mirror, when you look and see it from both sides, you can see down the target line and face on view, and really see the position in your swing that count. You can see if you're hitting that club on the power line. You can see if the club face is square. And what's really critical is you can see your impact alignments and getting that club forward. And with the big club, you have some weight, and the double-ended club really allows you to see whether that club face is square or not. So the practice you can do indoors with the Swing Wizard is so critical to your improvement. You'll be shocked when you come back in the springtime and go out and see the improvement in your golf swing.
Rules of Golf is a great book. Play with older clubs. They're old school. I don't think it's really about all the great technology as far as golf clubs go. We're still happy with the golf ball. And growing up, one of the best books I ever got was Hogan's 5 Fundamentals of Golf. And the most difficult chapter in there to understand swing plane. And I think if Hogan were to see something like this, or this tool, he would be like, wow, this is exactly what I'm trying to explain. You have to experience it, you have to feel it. If it's something like this, you actually feel, okay, now I understand what you're trying to teach me. So it's great visual aid to understand swing plane.
At the very top level of golf, on the LPGA Tour, the PGA Tour, power is huge. But you have to combine that with consistency. I know that from working with Lexi Thompson, who's the longest hitter on the LPGA Tour, but she also hits it very consistent. She hits the center of the club face all the time. I also did that with Keegan Bradley, working with Keegan for 5 years. Super long hitter. We worked very hard on consistency and became one of the greatest drivers in the world. But for the average player, consistency is even more important than power, because you can be swinging hard at it, missing the ball, hitting all over the place, and golf's not much fun. You're going to shoot really high scores. So the first thing you have to learn is consistency. And with the Swing Wizard, you're going to develop consistency because you can see how the shaft is working, the positions that you need to be in, and getting into impact, the impact zone, the impact position more consistently all the time by practicing it over and over in your home, in your office. You can practice indoors and start to learn what you need to do to develop a consistent strike. Zach Johnson, he is a very consistent golfer. He's by no means the longest. He's actually one of the shortest hitters, but he won the Masters. He just wore people out. Great ball striking, hitting the center of the fairway, and great wedge play, and good putting. And was able to beat the longest hitters in the world and win one of the biggest tournaments in golf. He did it by being super consistent. Consistency is a big topic with me as a teacher. You can learn to be more consistent by using the Swing Wizard.
Well, thank you guys for enduring that.
That was really rough, even rougher on there, going through the projector. So the voiceover will be totally in sync.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
not,
so sometimes that's
yeah,
a little lost.
that's not
Yeah,
color
that's-
corrected
you
at
guys-
all,
You guys are seeing
very rough.
rough in it. This is, what the photographer, Marjie and I slammed together. From there it goes to, the animation guy. He does all the color correction, adjusts all the sound volume, makes
Oh.
all the transitions real smooth, so.
Yeah, all the-
It improves the quality.
Oh.
Well, the quality is amazing, like everywhere you see wording on there, it's gonna be, that's really important with branding. So when you see the product, you know, the logo, will be, there's a really fun animation when it comes out and says a person's name and a ball comes across the screen, and really wonderful animation. And there'll be wonderful animation made of the actual club, rotating. Like a, almost propeller on angle.
You're gonna have an animation of like
Of
the
the-
use of it in the training.
It'll be of the product spinning into the shot.
Good.
What we're trying to get him to do
That'll help a lot.
is
I think it
that
would too.
silhouette shot of me up on the rock swinging it.
Yeah.
What we're trying to get him to do is get the animation of the product spinning so that it like almost goes right into my hands while I'm swinging it. So there's a lot of cool effects and stuff that,
And sound will be even, that's not the music being
yeah, we
used.
changed all the music and,
So there's a lot of detail to be done.
A lot of work.
But Roger made us come, and it's his fault that you're seeing a rough.
That's all right, it's good to see it in progress.
Yeah, yeah.
so, it's been quite a ride, a lot of fun, a lot of brain damage, but, all in all, we're so close to the finish line that, now it's starting to get exciting. Before it was just a lot of work.
And that's it, and then you'll see, you know, you can always go to the website too, which
I
is,
noticed the website isn't up yet.
it's not up yet, but you'll be able to, you know, to combine it and see both, you know, and that's where I talk about branding. Everything has to be consistent with everything that happens on here as far as animation and the branding of every part and piece. To when we did the cover for the DVD, because an instructional video or DVD comes with this. So that all has to be, as far as branding, consistent. Your marketing, so, yeah.
How much are you spending for your media buys versus making the video? A lot more, a lot less? Or
Well,
how does it-
Well, you have to really consider when you're going out, it's a test. So you're spending a minimal, you want to spend as little as you can for the test. But then once it hits, if you're successful, you have to keep throwing money at it.
Campaign then.
It's
Hit it.
totally, yeah, you constantly have to hit it, and then you can go out, if you're successful, to factoring companies.
yeah, there's media funding companies that this is what they specialize in. So once we run this for a few weeks and we collect enough data to show that it's successful, we submit that to the media funding company, and they're on the spot. I mean, I've already got a contract that I need to fill out and get back to them. It's not binding at this point, but it gets all the paperwork out of the way. So, because if you go out and you're very successful coming out of the gate, you don't want to lose that momentum. So they're, I'm sorry.
You might want to explain factoring, because many of the audience members may not understand what that means.
Well, and the factoring is where they're gonna identify your success through the results of your initial media test. So, they used to call them factoring companies, now they call them media funding companies. So basically, they're your investment, because we're looking at somewhere close to, I think, 10 million, to run this infomercial for a year. Yeah.
But the first run, you're just cash out of pocket, but after that, you're only running as you're making money.
Right,
So
and
you
they,
might be spending 10 million, but you're selling at least 10 million profit with the product.
right, and you're, I mean, their percentage, is 2.5%. That's their return, for their part. So, all things considered, if we sell 100 million of these, who cares? But, no, it's,
What have your sales been so
Really
far?
alone.
pardon me?
What have your sales been so far?
Well, we I rolled the product out in 2009. Just did kind of grassroots effort locally here, and sold about 4 of them just over the summer, me peddling them at golf courses and stuff. So not a real good benchmark, but the good news was out of the 400, not one person asked for their money back, and got a lot of reviews. I mean, all the people that were in the infomercial you saw, they were just first-time users, people that were exposed to it. So this wasn't scripted. These weren't paid actors and actresses that were doing this. These were just everyday people giving their opinion about the product. So, which is the way we wanted it. We wanted it more documentary style than to look like, you know, we got all these beautiful people and actors and actresses to say what we wanted them to say. I think it comes across more authentic, and if anybody disagrees with that, please give me the feedback.
I noticed nobody walked out, which is a good sign.
They might have been sleeping.
That's true. You had a question?
I was just gonna ask, you guys give an example, the test, market test and market test factor.
I'm sorry, what?
You test on a market, is that what you explained previously?
We'll be testing it on air, so we'll be going on air. We're going to try to go on the 21st of January.
What do you mean by that exact testing on air?
Well, we'll be on all the major network and cable TV stations.
Across the nation.
Okay.
So what's considered
They're just gonna run it and see what happens.
I see, okay.
what's considered successful?
Believe it or not, if you break even for your initial media cost, for us, for this run, we're trying to keep it around 10,000.
Now, a lot of the media companies wanted us to test like with 30,000, and we said no.
How many commercials is that?
It's gonna air, I forget how many times.
We're cutting it back, so I don't have that off the top of my
Yeah,
head, because we cut they wanted to go at 15,000,
Yeah.
we're cutting them to 10, and then we're cutting out all the 1 to 5 a.m.
All
So
that.
I don't have the exact.
Majorly off-peak hours.
But are we talking 20 times then, or is it
Oh, more than that.
a lot more than that for $10,000?
Yeah.
Well, that's
Airtime
good.
costs gone down recently?
Maybe for infomercial channels.
I don't know if they've gone down.
Yeah, it's just, no, an infomercial time, and you're not,
There's-
you're not on
there's a-
peak time or prime
There's a
time.
lot more stations than there used to be, so it's gotten a little more competitive.
Why did you decide to go the infomercial route rather than having a little TV loop film running in golf shops and stuff
Well,
like that?
the goal is to get it into retail
Okay.
eventually.
But what you do is you automatically get in retail if you're successful on TV.
But you have to go
if-
that way first?
Yeah.
Yes.
If we're successful on TV, they'll come to us.
And
Because
then,
Because they don't want to carry it before they know you're successful.
well, and then they say you make 10 times the money in retail once you're successful on an infomercial or
Even though
TV.
even though your margin drops, your
Yeah.
costs go down. So, I mean,
Not do those media buys.
you're not doing the media buys and the advertising that you were once paying for, now the stores are doing it.
But
for
you keep the media going, they say, to keep the branding going. You don't want to
Who
just
says that?
stop on it.
Media selling? No.
Marketing, in marketing.
Well,
In marketing,
here-
that's what you do.
Here's an interesting thing. Everybody knows who Jake Jabs is,
Yeah.
American Furniture. I was watching a interview with him, and the interviewer asked him, said, Jake, we get it. You're king. Why do you keep cramming it down our throats? Every time I turn the radio on, every time I open a newspaper, every time I turn the TV on, you're in my face. He said, you're right, I am king, and I don't want you to ever forget. So that's why he does it. So even though, and that's where a lot of people make a big mistake. Once they've made it big, they back off of advertising,
You can't.
because for whatever reason, we don't need to do that anymore. Everybody knows who we are. But that was an interesting philosophy that he wasn't going to let us forget he's king. So that's why he does it.
You had a question back there?
I just wanna know what that retail's for.
$149.95. It's going to come with some additional items. There's a set of aim sticks that you saw the teaching pros using in the infomercial, you'll get a set of those. And then there's also an instructional DVD that myself and Jim McLean kind of walk you through how to use the product and tips and drills to use with it. So pretty good value. I did a trade show here locally when I first rolled this product out about 5 years ago, and had a guy at the expo offer to pay me. I was selling them for $129.95 at the show for the special, and this guy wanted my prototype so bad that he'd come back about every 30 minutes, upping the price that he was willing to pay for it. He was up to $250. And I finally told him, I said, sir, look, it's the only one I have. If I sell it to you, I'm done for the rest of the show. I said, I'll tell you what. I said, give me your name and number. I'll build you one. I'll have one to you next week. And it won't cost you $250. So he waited, but he was so enthralled with the product. I mean, one thing you have to understand about golfers is we're fanatical. Once you get this game in your bloodstream, forget it. You'll stop at nothing to try and improve your game. So.
And it's shocking what this does. I'm amazed how far I can hit a ball now. It's fun. So.
What's patented? Is it the club itself, or is it the whole idea of the double-ended thing, or is it?
It's the whole concept. Roger, you might be able to speak to that.
Yeah, it's a combination in the interface between the two pieces. Did you bring the patent with you?
Yes.
So you can pass
So
it
it's the way they join together. It's the overall concept of the product. And then
The material.
Oh, you know, you need that in your information. It's patented.
And when does,
Yeah, I didn't hear that,
it is in there actually.
Oh, it is, I didn't hear.
Voiceover. There's.
Oh,
You haven't seen voiceover, and we have a great voiceover. It's like when I was watching that, I'm just like, oh my gosh, because it was like even breaking up from the computer to the to the projector. But when you see the actual finish, it's very professional. It will be.
The voiceover guy is so good. I wanted to buy one.
when does Swing Wizard for baseball and softball and all that come out?
We'll wait until we get successful with this.
After your first 100.
We actually have another product that we'll come out with that goes along with this one at some point. So.
But thank you for yes.
Where do you have them made?
Right now, they're being built in Canada.
Will you have Roger send us an email when it's on so we can go watch it?
Absolutely.
Oh, sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you can.
We can send you a video.
I'll send you the video
The
so you
link.
can kind of watch it at your leisure, so you don't have to like tune in at 2 in the morning or anything.
Then you can see the finished product.
Okay.
So.
I have to compliment you on your choice of videographer.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Well, he's
internationally known.
world renowned. He's spent months filming in Antarctica, all over the world, and he's local here.
He's an amazing.
Neat guy. He's done stuff with Johnny Cash and Robert De Niro and
Everybody.
you name it. But just a great guy.
You had another question back there? Or do you?
I was just gonna ask you, did you need both a utility and a design patent for your product?
You always try to get both.
Do you? Okay.
You always want both.
Want both.
And we trademark the name.
Yeah, of course. That's good.
And you do all that through your patent lawyer.
And by the way, that's a clever name as well.
Thank you.
Great name for that.
Thank you.
And I know that's very important in an invention or a product, because that's what really helps to sell it. It's cleverness because it'll be known.
Right.
The name goes along with the actual form, follows, function of the product itself.
And we trademarked the Z as well as the name Swing Wizard.
The goal with the branding was Wizard is spelled unconventionally with 2 Z's, and that was intentional because it's 2 clubs, 2 heads, 2 Z's.
Easier to trademark
Yeah.
We'll play Vanna.
So, we got the standalone Z, and you might have saw it on the ball. And it'll be throughout spots in the infomercial, and that's all intentional to kind of get people used to seeing just the Z, because there will probably be apparel, hats, shirts, clothing with just a Z on it that, you know, kind of following in the footsteps of the Nike
Swish.
swoosh, you know. I mean, they used to brand it with their name when they first came out. Now you see the swoosh, and there's no mistaking.
He keeps wanting to ask something, the gentleman.
Can you copy it, or just change it up a little bit? Can they do that?
Anybody can do anything.
They can try.
But that's why you want to be first to market, and you want your Kleenex. You need to be Kleenex. You need to be the first out there. Yeah. And so that's the one thing is when you go to the patent lawyer, okay, you got that step, right? But, excuse me, but after you get done with that, because don't just sit on it, because otherwise someone else can change a little something and then they're out there. You keep wanting to ask something, I'm saying.
One question I had was, is this a copywritten, is this copywritten, is it owned by the videographer that you had shot it, like a
No,
wedding?
we own
We own it.
We own everything.
So when you hire a production company, make sure they're work for hire, so that you own everything.
Or should they sign a contract, they sign the work over to you at the end?
Yeah, there'll be a agreement, you know, usually with everybody you're dealing with, there'll be some kind of contract or agreement. But, yeah, unless they're one of the investors or they're putting a bunch of collateral up, I mean, you should have the proprietary rights to all your work and theirs.
You had a question?
I'm not a golfer myself. Is this a universal club for the seeing people?
Yeah, the original model was steel, and the handles were machined aircraft aluminum. So it was a little heavier, and a lot of the seniors and older women complained about it feeling too heavy. You know, for the average guy, it wasn't a big deal. But in order to cater to, you know, youth, women, men, all golfers of all makes and models,
But we will have left-handed too. This is a right-handed, so we have to have left-handed.
Does it come with a little warning to watch out behind you?
We had to write a warning for it that's going in the package.
Really?
Well, you have to think about that. You don't, for liability.
yeah. I mean,
Not that it should be common sense.
well, there's a lot of products that are knives, kitchen knives, you know, but it's not gonna stop somebody from, is this thing sharp?
You had a question?
Yeah, what's the manufacturer's price on that, and then what's the wholesale price that you have to sell?
Well, in the marketing world, they like your product to be at about a 5-to-1 ratio
To retail,
for retail.
on retail.
Is that what yours are?
Right now, we're very close to that. We might be a little bit under, but.
And you need
That's
that much room to cover all the middlemen, or?
Well, for us, because we're going the infomercial route, you know, we've got a lot of back-end expenses. I mean, we have things that I didn't think about when I started this 5 years ago that my lovely assistant here brought to light was all the back-end stuff, you know. I mean, from building a website to hiring a fulfillment company that's going to be shipping all your product, to the telemarketing company that's going to be answering all your phone calls. I mean, those were all things that, you know, when I first started out with this, like, just build them all in my garage, you know, I answer my phone whenever somebody wants one. But it was a lot smaller scale.
And when you put a budget together, it's shocking, all of it. And also, even when you talk to a fulfillment company, what's exciting is compared to, I talked to a couple people about a product I'd put out before, the company we're using for the fulfillment I'd used for that product, and now they have a special setup or a first startup price, which is half the price of what I had to pay when I first went to that fulfillment company for startup companies. But when you're talking to a fulfillment house, you know, they'll give you a price per piece to fulfill, but they don't tell you, oh, wait a minute, there is, you know, how much for per minute, $2 per minute for customer service, and don't forget about this, and don't forget about that. And I'll tell you, you just start racking it up. And it's shocking when you put a budget together, what it takes to go ahead and, all parts and pieces of taking a product to market.
There's,
They're not nickel and diming you, but I don't think they spell it out well sometimes. As far as, the full cost. And even with telemarketing companies, you have to be cautious, because they have different levels of what type of telemarketing you want. So you have to just realize.
but we've got the names of two really good companies, so if anybody
Yeah, we're
gets to
happy.
that point,
Mhm.
we'd be happy to pass their information on to
Well,
you.
how about the name of your videographer?
Rich Lerner.
He's just a guy, he doesn't have his company? I mean,
Well,
doesn't have a company name is-
He does, it's,
I don't know if you do
he goes
infomercials,
by,
though.
Conspiracy Films,
Yeah, I don't know if we do infomercials.
but, he just got out of prison
Yeah.
last week.
Aside from whatever.
And he's
No,
not joking.
seriously.
He's not joking.
Yeah.
Well, this is so funny, tell him.
A prison, company that owns two prisons, one in one in Texas, South Texas, and one in Oklahoma, hired him to come out and spend 2 weeks filming at the prison, so. When I say he just,
Great line.
yeah, but,
We're like, are you out yet?
yeah, I mean, he's done everything. He's been in Antarctica filming polar bears. He lived,
Polar bears in Antarctica.
I mean, he lived up in the polar caps with the natives, and they literally had to hunt to eat every day. And they went out and hunted seal and whatever they could shoot that day. But interesting guy. He's hung out of helicopters and planes filming. Pilatus is one of his clients, an aircraft manufacturer. So great guy, great guy.
So, yeah.
What conspiracies here?
Is the phone number real?
844-WIZARD?
I'm sorry?
844-WIZARD? Or the one on there was
Yeah,
just,
Did you really get all eights, or is that just?
no, that's, the number we got is 844-WIZARD, WIZZARD.
Oh.
And
So
then,
you're gonna swap out the number? 'Cause one
oh,
of the
that
first-
was just, yeah, that's just
yeah, one
all
of the first ones,
placeholders.
It was 1-8800.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's just all placeholders for copy that, will be also put in the specific type style, so that, again, for branding, everything will be, yeah. It'll be pretty when you see it.
Well, send us a link.
Yeah.
What was your most challenging, what was your biggest challenge on getting this going here? Maybe your two biggest challenges.
Funding, yeah, most obvious, but, other than that, I think just your own mindset. Like I said, it's very exciting, and then you get that oh crap moment where you realize how much has to go in to get the product to market. But there's, like I said, fortunately Margie had been through it a couple times, and she took on the brunt of a lot of that to get some of the systems in place. She had worked with the fulfillment house, the telemarketing companies. She actually used to work for Rich, the guy that did all of our photography work years ago. So she helped take some of the scariness out of it.
Well, and then we also had a still photographer, so on the sets, when we were filming, because we filmed here and in Arizona, we had a still photographer, because you haven't seen the website, so we had everything we were shooting, as far as video, we also have on still photography for the website. And then also got shots for advertising later.
Looks like some of the shots are done by a drone.
They were.
Oh, yeah?
We had a guy, he actually lives over in Highlands Ranch, Brent, I can't think of his last name, but he's probably the best aerial photographer in the entire country. He flies all over the
amazing.
world shooting these drone shots. But he wears, he's one of the only guys that does it, he wears goggles.
Oh, FPVs, yeah.
Yeah, so he's not actually watching the drone live.
Right.
He's looking in his goggles, filming everything blind.
Well, and he did the ones where, on the golf course, they're coming down from the bridge and all, he did those.
Yeah.
And then some of the other shots at like Raccoon Creek were done by Rich with
did.
his drone.
Oh, okay.
So we have a variety.
Everybody's got a drone.
And then there's a still shot in here, that's in this rough, right? Yeah, at the beginning,
With the
with
cactus.
the cactus at the beginning. That is actually a still shot that we inset, because we didn't have any footage from down in Arizona of that golf course. So we stuck a still in there, which worked the way it's done.
I bet you save your time, money by hiring a drone guy as compared to a helicopter.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of costs.
But it's probably more effective than a helicopter.
Right.
Because they can get into places a helicopter can't.
Well, and there's gonna be animation of, I'm trying to think at the beginning one with the ball coming at you, when Keith shoots, and then there'll be a ball coming at you. So there's really some fun animation coming, so.
And you can get as carried away with that stuff as you want, or as little. They're nice little effects to have on there, but
Keep interest.
yeah, if it's in the budget, do it. If it's not, don't sweat it.
We appreciate yes?
Another question, so what does the retailer expect to mark up this thing compared to the wholesale that you sell to them?
I don't know yet.
Well, the retail will be 140, 40,
Yeah, they'll keep it,
95.
we'll have to give up some margin on our end, to sell it to them at wholesale, obviously, so. We have,
Do they wanna buy it for $100 and make it
yeah,
$50?
it'll be something like that, yeah.
And it'll depend on the retailer. Some of them are different.
They want the 5-to-1 to be at the retail price, so whatever that's gonna be, that's what
Well, the retailers are gonna want, they're all over the board. I looked into it, 5 years ago when I tried going straight retail. And some of them, they wanted to make 300%. It's like, really? So yeah, some of them are very unrealistic, and, it really comes down to, the success of this product. Like I said, if we come out of the gate on fire, they'll be reaching out to us to try and, see what they need to do to get our product in the store.
Yeah, because they need it when customers come in.
Oh, yeah.
It's good for them.
Well, they work off the premise that, they get you in the store for one thing and you walk out with 3, so.
You have a little attachment on there for getting the balls out of the water?
I usually just grab Margie by her feet. Come on, it's not that cold.
But I'm the one that puts them in there. That's why he does it.
I'm a gentleman. I take my socks and shoes off. I walk out in the water and go.
On the ice lately, no. Well, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's a good idea.